We've all heard of comfort food, the kind of food you like to eat regardless of its nutritional value, but it just makes you feel good. Did you know movies operate the same way? That's right, we're going to talk about the movies that we like regardless of critical praise, box office totals, and overall audience reception. These are the movies we love for being what they are, why they are, and how they are. These are our comfort flicks.
It has begun!
You can't run from me, Sam!
I don't need to run.
Combat begins.
We're taking a slight detour because we did the math and we discovered this is actually an anniversary year. This is the 25th anniversary of the movie that many people still to this day consider to be the standard in video game based movies, Mortal Kombat.
Johnny Cage, Scorpion,
I'm a Mortal Kombat fan, I know you definitely are, and we both were when it kicked off. How much of a fan were you when the movie was coming around?
Oh, I was playing the games in the arcade.
So
I had it on Genesis because I wanted the blood.
I had it on Super Nintendo.
I had it on
Yeah.
the better one.
Yeah. Hey, in my defense, there were some fatalities in the Super Nintendo version which did carry over later on, like Sub-Zero freezing them and shattering them. That was in the Super Nintendo version.
Come
I
on.
know.
I mean, but yeah, I had the Genesis version. I played it in the arcades. I'd spent all the time in the arcades, especially when the third one came out. That's when I was like really into it.
In most other schools, you know, marijuana was passed around as contraband. In my school, we were passing around Mortal Kombat codes as contraband.
I was on my own.
You're on your own on that?
Okay, let's be real. Do you really think someone like me was going to even be looked at as a Mortal Kombat fan? I just bought my own magazines. I was like, I ain't going to tell you the codes. I got them myself.
So the movie was in development. Pretty much at the second the game came out, there was already demand by Lawrence Kasanoff, the producer, to make this movie. Unfortunately, the movie was being made under the stigma of a lot of other video game-based movies that were coming out, like Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, Street Fighter, all movies with big Hollywood budgets, which did not do jack in the box office. So there was kind of a cloud hanging over the head of this one.
Mortal Kombat had something behind it. It had the knowledge of the Mortal Kombat games, but it had the hard part of not only do you have to appeal to your audience is also young teenagers who technically shouldn't be watching a violent movie, and also having to make the movie PG-13, and PG-13 nowadays could have gotten away with a little bit more. Back then, PG-13, you still had a drop of blood and they all freaked out, which...
This movie had just one drop of
it
blood.
literally does. And also had a no-name cast. Nobody, aside from Christopher Lambert, but even then he was known for Highlander, and I can guarantee you most Mortal Kombat fans might not have known who that was.
Yeah, I'm sure the Mortal Kombat fans were flocking to Christopher Lambert because of his work on Greystoke.
I didn't know who he was. I mean, I just was like, Raiden. Okay, that's all I knew, you know.
So, with the watered-down rating, with the bad stigma of video game-based movies, and the no-name cast, you would think this movie would have crashed and burned, but against all odds, it was huge. It did crazy numbers, and did kick off the next wave of video game-based movies that come out afterwards, and the miraculous thing about this movie is that it is still considered to be the standard of comparison for every other video game-based movie to come afterwards. And still, none of them have seemed to have that magic that Mortal Kombat has. So we have to ask, what was it about it that
See, here's the thing is, the movie, they changed stuff. Stuff has changed. But the heart of Mortal Kombat was still there. Like, even though you had no blood or extreme gore, they still figured out how to get you some of the fatalities in there. They got the lines being read. I will throw down Shang Tsung.
Mm-hmm.
He freaking stole the show. Like, anytime he was on screen, like, he was chewing up that scenery and making it his, and you always remember him. And now, like, he's coming back in the video games. And there's love for the movie, and I think it's because the movie loved the games.
It's not a particularly well-written movie, but somehow, someway, just through the delivery of the actors and just the way visually it's represented through some exceptionally good production design, too.
Yeah, and talking about representation, it's like your lead actor isn't... They cast correctly.
Yeah. I think like the only one that they did a stretch and it was okay because he was a god was Raiden himself.
I mean, Raiden really was like, you could have done anything with that. And they were not, like, I hate to say whitewashing anything in the sense of the characters whose origin and who they are part of their culture.
Yeah.
So that was actually kind of awesome.
Another thing that was impressive was how they were able to bring in a lot of the mythos from Mortal Kombat, and somewhere they were able to make a lot of it fit. I mean, there was one major thing they had to chop out for pacing reasons. We'll get to that in due course. But they were still able to fit in everything we need to know about the central characters, about Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, everything that we need to know about their primary motivations. And what was interesting was how they were able to make that a part of their arc as far as their development to reach to the final resolution, like Sonya's need to have to start relying on others, Johnny Cage's finally thinking of the bigger picture, and then of course Liu Kang facing his self-doubt, and all those arcs actually come to a head.
One standout thing from Mortal Kombat, and you know it because you will hear it when I make a comment about it, is the soundtrack. Every laser tag plays for all the rest of the 90s. You heard the music and you knew what it was from. And they used a lot of it too. I remember always going to play laser tag and you'd have either the first Mortal Kombat, you would have Scorpion's music, the fight with Reptile.
For one laser tag I went to, actually had the song that was playing when Sonya's raiding Kano's club. They actually had that in there too.
Yeah. It was like all this music from Mortal Kombat. I'm like, hey, listen, that soundtrack was good.
Damn good soundtrack.
I'm not a big techno fan, but like, that one just works. Memorable.
Yeah.
It keeps the movie memorable, because that's the hardest thing, is just staying in the consciousness of the public, you know, after like 10 years, or in this case 25, if you say Mortal Kombat, someone's probably going to be able to start doing the beginning chords of the song.
At the very least, just scream, Mortal Kombat! I mean,
and I already have the music.
Yeah, now it's in our head.
Now the music starts. The effects are interesting because there are some shots that are pure mid-90s CG. Oy, that doesn't look so good.
It really...
like, it's more the establishing shots, like when they're zooming up on Shao Kahn's castle, is like...
Yeah, or
a bad video game. I mean,
Reptile
kind of look. But then you got Goro, who looks killer.
Still holds up to this very day.
Holds up
still looks really good. Apparently, the puppet that they had to do was about 100 pounds.
It looks like 100 pounds.
Yeah, it looks like, and we've seen, and if you watch a lot of the behind the scenes footage, you can see the puppeteer underneath it. Yeah, they actually said Goro was the most high maintenance actor on the entire movie.
Didn't they call him the diva?
Yeah, they called him a diva. Yes.
But they could have done attempted CG. They did with Reptile, but no, they were doing a puppet, and it looked great. And even when he's pounding one dude, I mean, the moves in the game were never that elaborate, so you just could feel every hit.
I remember seeing it, knowing Goro as I did when I first saw it. Every time Art Lean got punched, I was like, ooh, because that's all painful.
But then they also, but then speaking of punching Goro. For me, as a fan, I always wanted to do the Johnny Cage ball breaker
move, yeah.
On Goro, but you never could do it. It wouldn't work. I guess they didn't want to animate him doing crotch grab.
Which is funny, because a claymation figure would have looked hilarious going, Roar!
But, so you can never do it. So the fact that he did it, it was like, I got my moment to finally see what this looks like. And it was kind of marvelous.
I think PG-13 actually was in its favor, because you're expecting a lot of things to get cut out, certain things you think that they were going to have to cut out for the rating. You were kind of astonished by a lot of things that got in there, like they were able to work in Scorpion's spear. Yeah, they were even able to work in Scorpion's fatality.
It was just enough to be satisfying, like you didn't feel like it had to be more than that. Because we know what happens when you try to shove too much into the movie, and then we get...
Too bad you will die.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero are like the iconography of Mortal Kombat. Like most of the covers of the games always have either Scorpion or Sub-Zero, sometimes even both on the cover. And while they look great in the film, they chopped out pretty much their entire story. For fans of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, I can understand how they could feel cheated, because theirs is probably the most compelling story of the entire
but
thing.
it didn't fit in. And you still got their moments though, like multiple moments for each character. So it's like, yeah, we understand we can't, and they even have a throwaway line.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Deadliest of enemies. But slaves under my power.
So it totally writes it off. But for I feel like that was like, hey fans, we get it. Sorry, you know.
Couldn't work it in. Sorry.
But at least it was acknowledging, like, hey, you put a line in there to explain it, and you still got all your great stuff out of the characters.
Now, admittedly, my knowledge of the martial arts genre, especially when it comes to American adaptations of it, is kind of scant. As far to my recollection, in American cinema, the most we've had prior to it was pretty much the works of canon with films like American Ninja or Enter the Ninja, which is ironic because the actor in that was Italian.
Well, no, at that time I don't remember if Jackie Chan was coming over, or if he still was doing stuff overseas.
This was around the time,
Because I remember his boom when he came. Was it Rumble in the Bronx? I think was this big movie that when he came over here.
Well, that leads me to. Yeah, that leads me to kind of wonder because Rumble in the Bronx came in by a New Line. New Line produced Mortal Kombat. I'm left to wonder if Mortal Kombat paved the way for the Hollywood establishment. Yeah.
Kind of gave the go-ahead of, hey, Hollywood, you can make money on these kinds of movies. Woo.
Yeah.
And then just opened the floodgates, and then all of a sudden, you know, Jackie Chan's films, Jet Li, then you had Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and all kinds of stuff started kind of coming through.
Yeah, it left to wonder. It left to wonder maybe if Mortal Kombat actually kind of did kick up America's interest in the martial arts genre.
We'd have to look it up because prior to that, I don't remember a lot. I feel like Mortal Kombat had love and effort put into it, and that's why Street Fighter and Double Dragon and definitely Super Mario failed, is that they had no love for what their origin was, what they were actually basing on, and I don't think the effort was put into honoring that origin and that love. And that's why you get those three movies. Though Street Fighter can be fun.
Go back to our cinema schlock that we all did on Street Fighter. It's there. All of our feelings are laid bare on there.
I think I was drunk half the time.
We all were. I talked about this briefly in our Prince of Persia comfort flicks, but have we come close to even matching what they achieved with?
No.
Really? You don't think so?
No. To what Mortal Kombat was able to pull off, I don't think so. Not for any video game movie I've seen since. Where you can watch this and know exactly that this is from a video game, but it's still its own story. I feel like either it marries itself too much to the video game, or goes so far off the rails that you barely can recognize it. I would blame Resident Evil movies for that kind of stuff.
Which, ironically, is directed by the same guy.
Oh, yeah, he's a fine director. I'm not going to slam him for that.
People love Event Horizon.
He's a great director, and he's good with action scenes. My point on Resident Evil is that they just did their own story. They just had pieces of the games put in there, like, oh, here's this character.
Yeah.
But it's its own story. There is no video game based on the movie's not based on any video game. It's just kind of more in the world of, and even then they go crazy. I mean, with Prince of Persia, it's more of a film. If I didn't tell you that was a video game based movie, you wouldn't know. That's where I'm like, I think Mortal Kombat, you could kind of tell this was a video game, possibly. Like, it has that flavor, but it's still a movie. You
can distance yourself as much as you need, but still, if you love the games, you'll still get the flavor.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. It's really hard, and I just can't think of any other movie that balanced it as well as Mortal Kombat. Some have done pretty good.
Some recent examples, I could say, have done pretty decent jobs. I'll still say Sonic did a pretty decent job.
Sonic did a good job.
I mean, off the top of my head, I can only name 2 TV shows which have nailed the video game origins.
Brain freeze!
Earthworm Jim. And most recent example...
He shouldn't die. Yes, fuck you.
Yeah, I would say Castlevania definitely... The only catch is Mortal Kombat, you know where it's going to go. You know Liu Kang's going to win.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when Katana shows up in it.
I was surprised.
Yeah, because that's Mortal Kombat. And, well, Reptile was a secret character in the first game.
Yeah, but I didn't think I'd see him.
There was a little...
This is before internet really was a big thing. You didn't know crap going in.
Yeah, this is 1995. The internet...
I was like, what?
No, you had... These were the days when you had to wait 10 minutes to get online. For all intents and purposes, this movie actually combined Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. It even worked in the whole beginning of the plot of MK2 where Sonya gets kidnapped. They were able to work that into the movie.
So as much as you could say, oh, that's a trope, she got kidnapped. No, actually, that wasn't the game.
kind of was.
I will say I was only disappointed by one thing, and this is just because I kind of loved the banter, and I thought was Kano getting killed so quickly. I liked what they were doing with him, and he was actually a lot of fun.
Trevor Goddard, the actor who played Kano, prior to this, the character was supposed to be, I believe, American-Asian mix. But because Trevor Goddard's performance was so unique and so not what the creators of the game had in mind, every personification of Kano afterwards, especially with Mortal Kombat 9 all the way to today, they modeled the character based on Trevor Goddard's performance.
It was like Shang Tsung as well, both of them. Mm-hmm. They're like, we're just going to go with the movie versions. That's what we'll do. And it's kind of cool that they liked it enough that they're like, hey, we're changing what these characters originally were like. We're just going to base them on by literally getting the actor from the movie to play the character again. Which, I mean, hey.
So you can call this also a free advertisement for Mortal Kombat 11 because recently the expansion just came out, and Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa is back, and cool. Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
And he's not lost it. He's still got it.
Shang Lo, I presume. You presume correctly, brother. When you die, you will be forgotten.
They got him saying all the great lines. It has begun. It's got him saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They know they're like, oh, we know what you like.
We know what you like, and it works. And what really makes me happy, if you go on YouTube, you can actually find like a whole bunch of interviews, recent interviews with Cary Tagawa. His enthusiasm for the role has not waned. He even appeared in Mortal Kombat Legacy, the web series. He has not stopped loving this role.
And he goes to like the convention here all the time, and we never went.
Oh, one day.
In 21.
In 21.
When it was, yeah.
I accidentally said 21, but honestly, the way things are going, that might be pretty likely. Yeah. That's how it kind of feels. But fortunately, we're here at home with Mortal Kombat, enjoying the 25th anniversary. Now, how do you feel about Mortal Kombat? Do you feel that it is truly the standard of excellence for video game-based movies, or do you feel that many have overtaken it since then? Talk to us. Comments below. Tell us about your favorite Mortal Kombat memories, all down there in the comments below. And until then, see ya.